This is HuffPost Live. I'm Ricky Camilleri. The battle for Wounded Knee in 1890 took the lives of hundreds of Native Americans at the hands of U.S. soldiers. In the 70s, it was the site of a violent standoff between tribesmen and the U.S. government. Now the historical site is up for sale. The 40-acre land is going for $3.9 million and causing a little controversy among the Oglala Sioux tribe, who say they shouldn't have to buy back land that is already theirs. Is this potential sale insensitive to the history, and how do we price historical locations? Joining us to discuss, we have Brandon Ikofi, a writer at Sun News in Rapid City, South Dakota, Eduardo Zendejas, professor of Native American Studies at the University of Nebraska, Tim Giago, a member of the Oglala Lakota tribe in Piedmont, South Dakota, and Mason Big Crow, the Oglala Sioux tribe treasurer at Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Guys, I have one question to start because we had a bit of an argument before we started the segment, and I'm not sure which is the more appropriate term. Native Americans or American Indians? Are both appropriate? Someone answer. Brandon, please answer that for me.
Neither one. I mean, neither one are correct. I mean, it's not.
Okay, so what's the correct? What's the correct way?
I would suggest that it's your tribal affiliation, but it's too difficult with over 565 tribes to sit there and so it's easier for people to say Native American or American Indian. I mean, although neither is correct, but for me it doesn't matter. I mean,
okay.
What matters is my nation.
Okay, I hear that. So tell us a little bit, Brandon, about what's going on at the Wounded Knee site right now. I mentioned it in prompter, but give us a little more details. Brandon, are you there? Okay, Tim, why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going on? Tim? Mason, are you there? Can you hear me, Mason?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mason, tell me a little bit about what's going on at the Wounded Knee site right now with the sale.
I'm not too up on what's going on right now. The only thing I know is we can't afford buying the $3.9 million, for the land buyback.
But so I mean, Mason, you're familiar with the history of the Wounded Knee site, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so why is the buying back of the land important for the Oglala tribe?
Tim's here. Maybe he could answer more than that. He's been here longer than I have. He's actually been here. Can you hear me, Tim?
Tim, can you hear us? Okay, Brandon, can you hear us?
I don't see Brandon on here.
Okay, Tim, so we have you on the phone right now. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. That's great. So, Tim, tell us a little bit about why the buying back of the land and whether or not they should have to buy it back is so important for the Oglala tribe. Give us a little bit of the history of Wounded Knee.
Well, the land was purchased, probably in the 1930s or late 1920s by the Gildersleeve family. So they were the owners of the land, and they sold it in 1968 to Jim Krasinski. So he now holds title to the land.
Right.
And
so he's had the title for the land for a few generations now.
Yeah, since 1968.
Since 1968, and he's said that he's tried to sell the land to the tribe, or tried to find something to do with the land with the tribe, but the tribe itself hasn't been able to agree on anything. I mean, how does the tribe stand on those allegations?
Well, I think probably depends on which administration is in, because we change administrations every 2 years, and you know how that goes. And there's different factions also that are descendants of the Wounded Knee, the Survivors Association, and they have differing opinions on what should be done about the land, or whether it should be developed, or so there's a lot of conflict of opinions within the groups itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so there's a lot of conflicted opinions. Does this have to do with the history of Wounded Knee? In I think it was 73 when you had the standoff. That wasn't just a standoff against the U.S. government. That was infighting, right?
Well, it was actually a takeover of a community on the reservation.
Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, let's see. In 1973, a group from the American Indian Movement came in and took over the community of Wounded Knee, and it caused quite a bit of chaos because there were people living at Wounded Knee, and they were taking hostages, the Gildersleeves, an elderly couple. One, the woman was Ojibwe from the Ojibwe tribe, and they were taken at gunpoint and tied up, and there was a lot of confusion, and the standoff lasted for, I think, 71 days. And in the interim, almost the entire village was destroyed, including the museum, including the trading post.
And so, and you know, when we talk about American Indians in America, a lot of what we talk about are the injustices that are felt by the American Indian community based off of U.S. government treatment. Do you feel like the community, specifically the tribe, feels that in this situation with the Wounded Knee selling, after the history of the massacre and the standoff, this is another injustice being committed by sort of the U.S. government and not protecting this land?
Well, you know, I'm of the opinion, I was invited to be a guest when they dedicated the visitor center and museum at the Washita massacre site by the Southern Cheyenne tribe. And the National Park Service built a beautiful visitor center and a museum there. And it draws a lot of people, and the tribe has an opportunity then to talk to all the visitors that come from Japan, Germany, all over the United States. They have an opportunity to show their own history, to talk and educate people about who they are. And it has been a real boon to the people of the Southern Cheyenne tribe. Mm-hmm. And they're very traditional. They're very spiritual people also. And even though a lot of members of their tribes were massacred at Washita, they still felt that they needed something there that would forever honor those people.
Mm-hmm. I have a comment that came in before the segment started, actually, from Justice_Holmes. This story is a lot more complicated than the quote-unquote hateful whites mistreating the Indians. Not that it is not an issue generally. The owner has been trying to sell the land to the tribe for 30 years. How does the tribe get $60 million in debt? And I think that's an interesting question. Mason, you're the treasurer of the tribe. Can you talk to us a little bit about the history of the tribe and how it got to the point of being in debt this much?
Well, basically, what happened over the years, and it's not something that happened overnight. The tribe made loans against the land. The tribe made loans against a lot of things, I guess. One of the things they did was they purchased a casino. Mm-hmm. They also did a solid waste. They did a bunch of things before I became the treasurer.
Right. Sure. I mean, Mason. No one is saying that this is you alone, the treasurer's fault, that it's $60 million in debt. I'm just curious about the history of the tribe and how it got to this point.
Yeah. Sometimes it does come. Right now, we did another $13.5 million loan with the Shakopee Nation for a nursing home and a road. So that actually, those are things that the tribe needed. But, you could say the tribe is in debt, but, it went into debt for the things that the tribe does need. I said, we did need a nursing home. We did need a road from Allen to, I think it was Allen to the Highway 18 road. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that tribal council decided that that we needed. So that's the reason why that went up to 17 million, 4.5 for the road and then 13.5 for the
So this is a situation, when the New York Times reports that the tribe is $60 million in debt and doesn't give specific reasons why they're in debt. It sort of ends up sounding like the money has been sort of tossed and thrown around. And you're telling me that the tribe over the years has gone into debt in attempts to sort of create infrastructure for the community.
Okay. Yeah. Another thing too is that if you look back at the history, we've never received our full funding from any of these funding agencies. I mean, we could track back from 1999, where we've only we've only received let's say BIA is supposed to give us 5 million. We've only received 4 million. So the
Yeah.
1 million, where's that? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're
Okay.
coming in just fine. There's problems
Okay,
with the
so-
hangout, so people are bouncing in and out, but you're totally solid.
Okay. So if we were supposed to receive 5 million from the BIA and we only received 4 million, what's going to end up happening was we're going to end up having to borrow money. We're going to end up having doing something else to get that money. So in effect, we're actually $1 million behind. And this is throughout the years where the tribe actually had to borrow money left and right to, make payroll, to do pretty much run the programs. And then, like I said, we could track back from 1999 and then on forward. We could since I've been in here, we could track back all the money that BIA,
Yeah.
IHS, and
So
other
Mason,
agencies below us.
Mason, if the tribe has been able to take out loans for roads, and this guy is selling the land for 3.9 million, could the tribe essentially take out a loan to rebuy the land, or is it not important enough for the tribe to take out loans for that when you're actually taking out loans for sort of roads and nursing homes and actual infrastructure that really helps the community?
Well, that'll be something that our tribal council and our people would have to decide if that's important enough.
In your opinion, do you think it's important enough?
I think it's important enough, but I don't think it's $3.9 million important enough. You got to remember, we spend over $1.5 million getting our tribal members to appointments. IHS sends our people all over the place. And we get stuck having to, the tribe ends up having to send people out and bring our people back. And that comes to the tune of about 1.5 million. If we're going to spend 3.9 million for land, I know it's important enough, but maybe we need to look at that. I guess I don't know.
Can I step in and make a suggestion here?
Yeah, actually, Brandon, I wanted to take a question to you right away based off of the discussion of the cost of the land. It's been said that the land is only valued at $7,000. Some have argued that the land is only valued at $7,000, but that the guy's actually charging 3.9. Can you answer that for me?
Are you asking Brandon?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Brandon. Historically, a lot of the lands around the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation have been underappraised from their actual value. The actual appraisal doesn't take into account mineral rights on what exists within the land, and it didn't take into account the actual historical significance of the site. And I'm not saying one way or the other, whether it's actually worth $3.9 million, because that's it's a significant amount of money, especially for a tribe that is, doesn't necessarily have them funds available for these types of things. However, it could be viewed as an investment opportunity. Tourism in South Dakota is by far the most profitable industry across the state, and there's been opportunities for the tribe to cash in on a number of these opportunities, but we haven't always pursued them, and sometimes, for the tribe, there's a certain connection to the land that isn't taken into account by the rest of America or Western society in general. And those things are something that, we're weighing as a tribe, as tribal members, we're all weighing, and a decision that the tribal council and the current administration has to take into account when deciding if they want to purchase this land.
Tim, do you think that the land should be purchased for 3.9 million?
Well, the owner of the land has the right to set any price he wants on it, but my newspapers have been covering Pine Ridge for over 30 years. And in those 30 years, we have often done editorials encouraging the tribe to step in and purchase the land and develop it and get it to a point where it draws tourism, where it creates jobs. We have almost an 80% unemployment on the reservation. Wow. And we need to do something that's going to bring jobs and industry to the reservations. And I think building a visitor center and a museum at Wounded Knee would be a gigantic step towards moving in that direction. But in those 30 years that we've been covering the reservation, we have often often written about some of the malfeasance, about some of the misuse of tribal funds. I mean, to the point where the tribe uses as much as $1 million a year just in travel for the tribal council and for the people in the programs. I mean, that's a lot of money to be spent on travel. And so there's a lot of things the tribe could and should do to tighten up its own budget.
Well, Brandon, Eduardo, Tim, Mason, thanks so much for joining. And I'm sorry.
Can I at least?
Yes, you can. You can. Eduardo, I'd love to give you the last word. I mean, I wasn't sure what was happening over there. You've been bouncing in and out. So if you want to jump in with the last word, please do.
Well, the talk has been about buying it. My suggestion would be for tribes to exercise their sovereignty. And most tribes have constitutions, and the Oglalalas have a constitution. And under the powers of the tribal government, they have the authority to take or buy through eminent domain property for public purposes. And they have the authority to do that, to exercise eminent domain. Mm-hmm. And the only issue would be is what is just compensation. And, that's something for appraisers to decide. And surely it's not, I don't know, but the 3.9 that's being asked for seems kind of high. But I would suggest to leave that up to appraisers to decide, and that the tribe exercise their sovereignty in acquiring the property through eminent domain, rather than wait for landowners to set whatever the price and hope that tribes will pay for it, and thinking that maybe they come into some casino money and purchase the land that way and raise the prices. But tribes certainly have the sovereignty, and the Oglalalas do, under their eminent domain provision under the Constitution, to acquire land through a takings clause. So that's what I would suggest to not just the Oglalalas, but to any tribe that is facing similar situations of trying to reacquire, historic land that once was theirs, and rather than sit at the feet of the non-Indian landowners to make threats about opening up the public auction, they certainly have the right and the power to exercise their sovereignty. And that's the only thing that I would suggest in this instance. Certainly it's up to the individual tribe to decide what they want to do with their land, but they do have the sovereignty or the power to determine what lands they can acquire through their constitutions.
Mm-hmm. Eduardo, thank you so much for sticking with us and dropping that really great point at the end of this conversation. I really appreciate your patience and then your intelligence and clarity at the end. Thank you so much. So, Brandon, Eduardo, Tim, Mason. What's that?
Tell my students that one more time, the intelligence part.
Listen to Eduardo. He's very intelligent, students.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us and helping us shed a little light on this situation. You're watching HuffPost Live. I'm Ricky Camilleri.